This is 4BC, where Brisbane comes to talk. Now,
join the conversation
with Greg Carey
on 1116
4BC.
Welcome, wherever you might be listening all around our great state, or other states for that matter. Good morning, Jude and Daz, listening to us in South Australia this morning. I hope the intermittent messages get a bit more regular this hour, Jude. 13-13-32. That was a worrying story and a very important story in our 10 o'clock news. I was talking with a friend about it at the weekend. That is the level of health care in our country. It's something we talk a lot about as one of the reasons why I'm concerned about the government's attitude towards the private health insurance rebate. They say that health insurance could be pushed out of reach for many people, if it hasn't been already, with funds set to hike their premiums by $150 a year. They just keep going up and up. At what point do they stop? I don't see a point at which they do stop going up, particularly because they keep going up, more people drop out, and because it's less attractive to get in, fewer people get in, so you've got smaller pools of people insuring, therefore you've got a smaller pool of money for them to invest and take care of those who are in the pool, and therefore I just think it's just an onward momentum of rising prices, and I don't think you overcome that by discouraging people from maintaining or taking up private health insurance if they can. Welcome your thoughts, 13-13-32. I think it's a big issue. This comes 9 months after higher income earners were slugged with a new means test on their 30% private health insurance. It wasn't just higher income earners. Health funds must submit applications for a premium rise to the government by tomorrow, and they say it's hard to see how the rise could be lower than 5%, given private health insurance is running at 9%. So that 5% rise, if kept at 5%, would add about $150 a year to a $3,000 family policy and $75 to the cost of a $1,500 policy for a single person. Welcome your calls, 13-13-32. Just on that issue of the affordability of health, I thought this was outstanding. A survey of 60,000 people conducted by Australia's dental plan organisation smile.com.au revealed Queensland residents, about 55%, were likely to avoid a trip to the dentist due to cost, and 60% said they had no plans to make a visit in the next 12 months. You see, health care, dental care, it's, that's a terrible thing, isn't it? When a majority of people feel they can't go to the dentist, not because they're afraid of the dentist, which maybe once was the case, there's no reason for it to be the case anymore, they're so good at what they do, but because of the costs. Anyway, to help encourage more people to get their teeth checked, 122 dentists in Queensland, including 80 in Brisbane, have signed up to smile.com.au to reduce fees on every treatment by up to 40%. Dr. Anthony Franklin from Brisbane's Dental Plus at Brendale is one of those and joins us. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to all your listeners.
Well, maybe on the concerning part of this first, and then on the really positive thing that you and others are doing. That's a worrying stat, isn't it? So many won't be visiting the dentist in the next 12 months, and the majority of that will be because people can't afford it.
Greg, this is something that we're hearing on a daily basis, and it's frightening. You don't go into dentistry thinking that people can't afford to actually come and see you. We go in thinking that it's everyone's welcome to come and have their problems sorted out, and that money's not a big question about it. We're not taught anything about money at dental schools. We're just taught how to fix teeth, and unfortunately, when you get out in the real world, money is such a big issue.
Gee, that's an important point you've just raised. So you're given no education about that whatever, yet it's integral in many ways to what you do, with so many people unable to afford going to see you. So at what point did it click in for you, the money part of that equation?
I would say that it was instant. I finished dentistry in the mid-80s, so I almost made myself sound old now. I'm 49, but I finished in the mid-80s and went from Brisbane to South Australia, and I noticed it in the country towns immediately that money was a serious problem. But when I got back to the city where there's access to a lot more dentists, and so therefore you would think it would be a lot easier to get into the dentist. So almost everybody I met, my neighbours, sporting friends, etc., would always, they'd find out you're a dentist and they'd, oh, look, can I come and see you? I simply can't afford to see the fellow I'm seeing at the moment, or that, how do you guys substantiate your costs? It's crazy, but I hope you don't mind me talking here, but there was an article written by a Sydney dentist some time ago which compared the price of an expensive car to a private school education to the cost of dentistry and the average Australian income. And he did this study over about 20 years, and he commented that as people's wages go up and cars have gone up, etc., the actual cost of dentistry had not gone up as high. So even though we're talking about high dental costs, they're not as high as they once were compared to the average person's pay packet. But it seems that they're higher for some reason. There's a mentality out there that they can't be, that no one can afford to go. And I'm just wondering whether or not we're just so busy in our lifestyle that we're spending money on other things, not considering teeth important. But regardless of that, it is.
That's interesting.
Expensive.
That's interesting, Anthony. Just off the top of the head, as you were saying, though, I hadn't really thought about that. But maybe it is that we, as the public, we're defining the care of our teeth in the wrong way, and that because things are tight, we're seeing dental work as an option. It's an optional extra. And it's taking ahead along with it all kinds of other things that depend on that disposable dollar. But really, we shouldn't be considering our dental care as an option or dependent upon a disposable dollar.
Well, that's correct. It's so important that we maintain good oral health, because as the population is aging, I mean, we're not dying in our late 60s and early 70s anymore. We're reaching mid to late 80s, and if you don't keep a good set of teeth, you're going to always look for softer foods, and softer foods are full of sugars and fats, and that's where the statistics about heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and Alzheimer's comes in. They're all proven studies that if your diet gets softer, if you stop eating fruit and vegetables and a good steak and some chicken and things like that, you're always going for those softer foods, and as I said, those foods are full of sugars and fats. So, and that's why I think a lot of dentists like myself, I think we're doing our best to try to make it affordable for people. I think dentists right across the board, whether they're in Smile or not, have a sort of a philanthropy aspect to their lives. I know that I've done a lot of free and discounted work for people over the years when I can see that they're doing things tough. But this is where smile.com.au fits in, because they're giving up to 40% off everything right across the board. And to me, that's a really honourable
it's fantastic
thing to do. I just can't believe that somebody has come along with such a simple concept that dentists who are already discounting their work anyway are prepared to put their hand up and say, you know what, that's a great idea. Maybe more people will join that.
How does that work, Anthony? How does that work, 40% off? How do you... Because you're right. I mean, you're in an expensive business. Technology's improving all the time. I guess it's getting more expensive all the time. So how are you able financially to do that?
Well, I think it's because we don't have to chase patients, Greg. The good thing about Smile is I don't work for Smile, so please, your listeners, I'm not paid by them at all. No. I'm just one of the dentists that actually has put their hand up and said, I'm prepared to do this.
Good on you.
Because we were doing it, we were trying to do it anyway. We're just finding that too many older people and people sort of on the hard luck stories of life, we're having to access do these big waiting lists at public clinics. And they don't want to wait. They don't want to wait 2 years to get their teeth checked. They want to be seen now. And this is where I think smile.com.au has been good, because it approaches the dentist and it says, look, some things are going to be 40% off, some are going to be 20% off, some might be 15%, but it ranges between, say, 10 to 40% across all the dental items that we do. And there's no restriction, there's no waiting periods, there's no limits. You can get instant access to everything, whereas with health funds, there's always waiting periods associated. They've got annual limits. They restrict a lot of items. As a practicing dentist, it's amazing how someone can come in and have 5 fillings done, and the fund might only pay for 3 of them, and then refer to fund on one item for no reason at all other than it doesn't want to pay. There's always a lot of health funds have these little tricks on how not to pay, because they are insurance companies. A lot of people forget that. All these horror stories about insurance companies, health funds are insurance companies. They don't necessarily want to pay. And this is where smile.com.au helps, because there's no limits.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. What are the long-term answers, do you reckon, Anthony? Now, I'm talking to Dr. Anthony Franklin, by the way. He has Dental Plus at Brendale, part of this group, and I'll give you more details about how to be in touch in just a minute. But what are the long-term answers here? I was talking about private health as it relates to our general health care, but as it relates to dentistry, Anthony?
I think long-term, I think if a person is only using their extras cover in a health fund for dentistry and they can afford it, I would say stick with the health fund. Because you can be in a health fund and use smile.com.au as well to get the discount. So you're getting a discount up front and then you're getting a refund. If you're not in a health fund, I would say don't join one if dentistry is your main priority. Now, this has nothing to do with the medical side of things. I think people should have private health insurance. This is the extras that people pay for. And I think if you don't already have extras, it would be a lot smarter simply to join smile.com.au. It's a very small fee and you get big discounts straight away. And the reason that you asked me before about why would you get involved in this, we don't have to go seeking patients, Greg. Advertising costs a fortune. You're always having to put yourself out there and you're already discounting your work anyway. So when people join Smile, they actually send patients to us. We don't go looking for them. And therefore it just sort of fills in our day with people who are being proactive. They're actually seeking out, I want to have better teeth, I can't afford it, how can I do it? And they're the ones who are chasing smile.com.au.
Yeah, look, it's a really important conversation. One final question maybe. How does this impact on children? When I gave that overall figure, about 60% had no plans to visit in the next 12 months. Are parents like sacrificing so their children go and maybe they don't? Do we know that or not?
From what I see with kids, a lot of kids from 12 to maybe 18 or 19 are on those teen dental vouchers. Have you heard of those?
No, I haven't, no.
Okay, there's a thing called a teen dental voucher. It's available from the state government, and it pays about $163.70. It allows you to go to the dentist and get a check-up, x-rays, clean. It doesn't allow for any fillings. So when kids come in, even when we find the holes, we're finding that a lot of parents will just roll their eyes when they go, what do you mean little Stevie's got 3 fillings to do? Isn't it covered by this scheme? And you say, well, no, just the check-up and the clean x-rays. It's a diagnosis tool. It doesn't cover anything else. And I'm finding a lot of parents won't get that work done. And it's frightening. Like, that's their own children. These parents already often don't come to us. And then, I mean, many do, but there's a lot that don't. And it doesn't matter how often we write to them and say it's very important that your 3 kids you brought in, that you do these following things before, because prevention is a lot cheaper than cure. I mean, you hear that all the time. You hear it every week on a movie or on your show, Greg. And, Carol Hungerford's always saying these things, and it's so true. And people are trying to avoid prevention, whereas if dentistry was more accessible, if it was cheaper, I think prevention would be the thing they'd aim for. And for the cure. You're
right, and that applies, Anthony, obviously to dentistry and wider health issues. It's lovely to talk to you. Well done on all you're doing. So people just go to smile.com.au and find out more.
Absolutely, Greg, and thank you very much for your time.
No, I just had a question, by the way, from John. Does this cover braces as well?
I don't work for Smile, so
you'd have to talk to me about that. Yeah.
You would, but from what I've heard, because I had a lot of patients that go up and see orthodontists, I think there's an orthodontist at Chermside that organise that. As far as I know, unlike health funds that only cover certain items, I'm pretty sure smile.com.au covers everything.
Okay. They can find out more there anyway. Good to talk to you, Anthony, and we'll stay in touch. Huh? It's an important issue.
Thanks very much, Greg.
All the best to you. Dr. Anthony Franklin, Dental Plus at Brendale, one of the more than 100 dentists in Queensland, including 80 in Brisbane, who have signed up to this smile.com.au. You can have a look at that to reduce fees on every treatment by up to 40%. Scary figure, isn't it? 60% said they had no plans to make a visit in the next 12 months. And it does have those wider ramifications Anthony was talking about. It's not just your oral health, but that impacts in so many other areas, including heart disease, etc. Leah, good morning.
Oh, hi, Greg.